In 2022, these watches were absolute gems, but now the numbers say otherwise. For years, we were told luxury watches only go up, that they were safer than gold. That flipping them was easy money. In 2026, the numbers say otherwise. Today, we're looking at 15 specific references that are trading thousands below what buyers paid at retail, and in some cases, far below their peak hype prices. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up to the biggest disaster. Number 15. Omega Seamaster Diver 300M. This watch costs $6,700 to $9,400 depending on configuration. In the secondary market, price in February 2026, it costs around $4,100 to $5,400. The depreciation is massive, 35 to 43% below retail. The Omega Seamaster should be a winner. James Bond wears it. It's got master chronometer certification. It's technically impressive. The finishing is solid. The movement is reliable. None of that matters when you're losing $2,300 to $4,000 the second you walk out of the store. Here's what happened. Omega tried to climb up market. They raised prices. They chased Rolex positioning. They wanted to be seen as a $7,000 to $10,000 brand instead of a $4,000 to $6,000 brand. The market said no. So, Omega Seamasters are flooding the secondary market. Dealers can't move them. Private sellers are dropping prices every week trying to find buyers. The standard steel black dial model retails for $6,700 but trades around $4,342 on watch charts. That's 35.2% below retail. The two-tone models with Sedna Gold, even worse. It retails for $9,400 but trades around $5,354. That's a $4,046 loss. You're paying $4,000 for the privilege of owning a watch for a year. Why? Because Omega makes too many watches. They release too many variations. Every season brings new limited editions, new dial colors, new configurations. The market is saturated. Supply crushes demand. The Seamaster isn't a bad watch, but it's a bad investment. And if you bought one thinking it would hold value, you just learned an expensive lesson about brand positioning versus market reality. And if you thought investing in the Omega Seamaster was bad, just check out this next. Number 14. Cartier Roadster. The Cartier Roadster was supposed to be the sports watch for people who wanted elegance with an edge, distinctive tonneau case, automotive inspiration, Cartier pedigree. Instead, it became a cautionary tale about trend versus timeless design. When it launched, people bought it as the accessible Cartier. Not a tank, not a Santos. Something different, something that felt modern and fresh. Then minimalism took over. Oversized tonneau cases fell out of fashion. The Roadster's distinctiveness became a liability. What looked cool in 2015 looked dated by 2020. By 2026, you can buy mint-condition Roadsters for half their retail price, sometimes less. Dealers won't touch them. The resale market treats them like radioactive waste. Even collectors who love Cartier avoid the Roadster because there's no clear path back to desirability. This is what happens when a watch is built on trend rather than architecture. The tank has survived decades because its design is clean enough to transcend fashion cycles. The Roadster was too specific, too tied to a moment that passed. If you own one, enjoy it. Don't expect to get your money back. Same goes for this next watch, and I am sure you'll be surprised it's on this list. Number 13. Rolex Day-Date 40 Yellow Gold. Yes, there's Rolex on the list, and it gets worse than you think. The Day-Date is supposed to be untouchable. The President's watch. Yellow gold. Fluted bezel. Rolex's flagship dress watch since 1956. If any Rolex should hold value, it's this one. The retail price of this watch as of January 2026 is $48,000 after the price increase. Secondary market price on Chrono 24 right now, $43,000 to $46,000 for standard dial configurations. That means you can buy a pre-owned Day-Date for less than retail. Clean examples with champagne, white, or black dials are sitting below the new MSRP. So, Rolex raised prices on gold models by 8 to 9% in January 2026. They pushed the Day-Date from $44,200 to $48,000. An aggressive jump driven by gold prices hitting $4,500 per ounce. The secondary market didn't follow. Buyers looked at $48,000 for a new day date and said, "That's too much." So they bought pre-owned for $43,000 to $46,000 instead. Why pay full retail when you can get the same watch for $5,000 less? This is the ceiling effect. When retail prices climb too high too fast, the secondary market stops tracking. The gap collapses. Dealers holding inventory get stuck. Owners trying to sell discover their $44,000 purchase from 2024 is now worth less than they paid because retail leapfrogged past them. The day date isn't worthless, but if you bought one at retail in 2025 thinking, "It's a Rolex, it'll hold," you're underwater. And that's a first for the president's watch. Gold Rolex watches are no longer automatic value holders. The market is telling us that $48,000 for a time and date watch in yellow gold is too much, even if it says Rolex on the dial. Now we've talked about Rolex. Let's talk about Grand Seiko. Number 12. Grand Seiko Nature Inspired, Limited Editions. Grand Seiko makes beautiful watches. The Zaratsu polishing is exceptional. The attention to detail is obsessive. The movements are innovative. Spring drive is legitimately impressive technology. But here's the problem. Grand Seiko releases a limited edition for every season, weather pattern, mountain, forest, and natural phenomenon in Japan. When everything is limited, nothing is rare. In 2023 alone, Grand Seiko released limited editions inspired by cherry blossoms, autumn leaves, snowfall, Mount Iwate, Lake Suwa freezing patterns, and at least 6 other nature themes. Each one was limited. Each one was special. Each one was supposed to be collectible. The market can't absorb that many special watches. Buyers got fatigued. Collectors stopped caring. By 2026, these nature-inspired limited editions are trading at or below MSRP on the secondary market. The premiums vanished. The rarity proved meaningless. A Shunbun limited edition that retailed for $6,200 now trades around $5,500 if you can find a buyer. A Shirakawa Birch model that was $5,800 retail is sitting at $5,200 used. These aren't massive losses, but they're losses on watches that were marketed as limited and collectible. The lesson? Scarcity doesn't mean anything if the brand keeps making new scarce models every quarter. Grand Seiko needs to learn what Rolex and Patek understand. Real scarcity requires restraint. You can't manufacture collectability by slapping limited edition on everything and hoping buyers don't notice the pattern. If you love the dial, buy it. If you bought it as an investment, you played yourself. And speaking of playing yourself, check out this next watch. Number 11. Panerai Radiomir, Standard ETA Models. Panerai had a moment. Early 2000s through the mid-2010s, Panerai was the watch. Oversized cases, military heritage, minimalist dials. Hollywood loved them. Fashion elites wore them. The hype was real. Then the market woke up to what Panerai actually is. Italian marketing wrapped around Swiss movements that anyone can buy. Most standard Radiomir models use ETA movements. The same movements you find in $2,000 watches. Panerai charges $8,000 to $12,000 for the same movement in a bigger case with their logo. Collectors noticed. The magic disappeared. Resale values collapsed. Standard ETA-based Radiomirs lose 30 to 45% of their value in the first year. A Radiomir 1940. That retails for $9,100. Trades around $5,500 to $6,000 used. That's a $3,000 to $3,600 loss in 12 months. Faster depreciation than most cars. Why? Because Panerai flooded the market with limited editions that weren't actually limited. They released variations constantly. The brand diluted its own positioning. And when buyers realized they were paying luxury prices for entry-level movements, the premium collapsed. Panerai also shifted trends against them. Minimalism moved away from oversized watches. The 44 and 47mm cases that looked bold in 2010 looked dated by 2025. Smaller watches came back. Panerai's signature aesthetic became a liability. In 2026, Panerai is a brand you buy because you genuinely love the design. not because you expect to get your money back. The market has spoken. These watches don't hold value. They lose it catastrophically. 5 watches down. We've seen depreciation across the board. Omega losing 35 to 43%. Cartier cut in half. Even Rolex Gold trading below retail. But we're just warming up. The next 10 watches prove that investment grade was the biggest lie the watch industry ever told. Just look at this next one. Number 10. Vacheron Constantin Overseas. Ref. 4500V blue dial. The Overseas was supposed to be Vacheron Constantin's answer to the Nautilus and Royal Oak. Integrated bracelet sports watch. Blue dial. In-house movement. Geneva seal. All the credentials that should make collectors fight for allocation. Instead, it became another victim of the pandemic bubble. With this shift, some long-standing authorized dealer stores are changing how they operate or are being replaced by flagship boutiques. For example, one historic dealer location in New York at 700 Fifth Avenue will stop selling Rolex watches once the new flagship opens. Rolex is concentrating its efforts on a standalone space that brings customers directly into the brand rather than through other retailers. The idea behind these flagship boutiques is not just size, but experience. Rolex wants visitors to feel something the moment they walk through the door. This is why the Miami store's design was so carefully crafted to reflect both Rolex's classic look and the local culture. The boutique uses materials like American walnut and textured details that echo the city's coastal style. There are places inside the store for customers to learn about Rolex history, try on pieces in comfort, and even get services like after-sales care in the same space. Many customers today expect more than a standard retail transaction. They want meaningful experiences that connect them with the products they love. Rolex's flagship boutiques are built with this idea in mind. These stores don't feel like regular watch shops. They feel like carefully curated environments where every element speaks to the legacy and craft of the watches on display. From seating areas to open glass cases that showcase each model clearly, each space is designed to support both discovery and celebration of the brand. In the Miami Design District, Rolex chose a location surrounded by other high-end brands and art galleries. This is intentional. Luxury stores often succeed when they are part of a community of premium brands because shoppers who are interested in one luxury product are often interested in others. By placing a flagship boutique here, Rolex increases the chances that customers already attracted to the area will step inside and spend time with the brand. Flagship boutiques are also part of how Rolex manages its brand image. Rolex watches are known for their durability, design, and long history. The world's most famous athletes, explorers, and public figures have worn them. With new flagship stores, Rolex can highlight these stories by creating spaces that educate visitors about the brand's milestones, innovations, and legacy. This storytelling aspect is something smaller dealer counters can find hard to replicate because they focus more on transactions than on brand immersion. While Rolex still works with authorized dealers, the flagship stores represent a new direction where Rolex can control many parts of the experience, from how watches are presented, to the way customers are welcomed, to the atmosphere that surrounds the brand. Especially in the United States, where major luxury markets are vibrant and competitive, having standout flagship locations becomes a strategic advantage. These flagship spaces also allow Rolex to prepare for future changes in the retail environment. The world of luxury goods is evolving, with more consumers looking for personalized, unique, and memorable experiences. Flagship boutiques give Rolex a chance to meet these expectations directly. The stores become more than points of sale. They become places where collectors and first-time buyers can connect with the history and values that Rolex stands for. As this strategy grows, Rolex will likely continue to create flagship boutiques in other major cities and cultural centers. With careful design, local inspiration, and deep connection to the brand itself, these spaces may shape how people around the world think about and experience Rolex watches. Meanwhile, how does this affect the dealership network, and what would be their fate? The global effect. Rolex is famous for being one of the most tightly controlled luxury brands in the world. The way the company sells and distributes its watches is not random or open to everyone. Instead, Rolex has always used a selective global retail strategy designed to protect its brand and deliver a consistent experience wherever a customer shops. This strategy affects authorized dealers, flagship boutiques, and how customers around the world find and buy Rolex watches. Rolex's selective distribution means it chooses carefully where its watches are sold. It does not sell through ordinary retail stores or mass-market shops. Instead, it relies on authorized dealers and flagship boutiques that meet strict standards for presentation, service, and training. This helps Rolex preserve the image of rarity and desirability that its watches have built over decades. Customers who enter these stores are meant to feel like they are part of an exclusive experience, not just a routine retail transaction. In recent years, this retail strategy has been evolving in many markets. One clear change has been how Rolex manages its authorized dealer network globally. Experience, not just a routine. These dealers agree to certain rules about how they present the brand, how staff interact with customers, and how they handle inventory. Rolex watches, especially the most sought-after models, are allocated to these dealers based on strict criteria. Many customers around the world still depend on these dealers to get new Rolex watches. However, the dealer network has changed in size and structure over the past few years. Rolex has reduced the number of sales points worldwide by about 20% over the last 5 years. This means that many smaller or less aligned stores lost their status and no longer sell Rolex watches. In some cases, these changes have hit long-standing independent dealers who had been selling Rolex for decades. This reduction in the dealer network is part of Rolex's effort to concentrate on high-quality, well-presented retail spaces that match its evolving brand image. The shift away from a larger, loose network toward a more controlled one has important consequences. For many small jewelry stores, being a Rolex dealer was a major source of revenue. Losing that designation can weaken their business. Rolex's strategy seems to favor consolidating sales around larger and stronger retail partners that can offer more customer traffic, better presentation, and deeper inventory. This approach also allows Rolex to allocate its most popular models to stores that fit its global retail vision, rather than scattering limited stock across many smaller stores. Despite these strategic changes, Rolex's leadership has publicly emphasized that the company does not plan to abandon its worldwide authorized dealer network. At an industry event, Rolex's CEO Jean-Frédéric Dufour stated that the brand will continue to work with a broad network of independent dealers and has no intention to compete with them through its own direct retail expansion. In many markets, Rolex still depends on its authorized dealers to be the primary sellers of its watches, including both new and certified pre-owned. This approach reflects a broader balancing act. Rolex wants to protect its brand, manage inventory carefully, and ensure customers have a consistent experience no matter where they buy a watch. At the same time, it recognizes that independent dealers are deeply rooted in local markets and have built strong relationships with customers over many years. By keeping these dealers as part of its strategy, Rolex maintains local touchpoints that a global brand on its own might struggle to replace. In some regions, these global changes have specific local effects on how Rolex watches are sold and serviced. In South Africa, Rolex continues to open new boutique-style shops and shop-in-shops within major cities, while also centralizing maintenance and servicing with partner organizations. These developments show how the brand adapts to local market needs while maintaining overall strategic direction. In these locations, customers may find a mix of traditional authorized dealers, expanded store spaces, and certified pre-owned options, all operating under the Rolex framework. The global distribution strategy also affects how customers think about Rolex watches. Because authorized dealers control most of the supply, and because demand for many iconic models far exceeds production, waiting lists have become common. In some cases, customers may be asked to build long-term relationships with dealers and even make additional purchases before they are offered highly desired models. This system reinforces the image of exclusivity, but also ties the retail experience closely to the dealer network itself. This global strategy shows that while Rolex is adapting to changes in the market and exploring new retail channels, it still places a heavy emphasis on the trusted network of authorized dealers and carefully designed distribution systems that have made its brand strong for decades. Here are some reasons why Rolex's strategy aims toward the betterment of both the brand and its customers. Rolex strategy on dealer relationships. Rolex is famous for rarely speaking publicly about how it runs its business, especially when it comes to questions about retail, distribution, and relationships with shops that sell its watches. Most big luxury brands talk often, but Rolex keeps most decisions behind closed doors. That's part of why anything the company's chief executive says in public is newsworthy. In late 2025, Rolex's CEO, Jean-Frédéric Dufour, gave a rare talk about the company's approach to selling watches and working with its dealer network. Rolex keeps most decisions behind closed doors. That's part of why anything the company's chief executive. In late 2020, closed doors. That's part In late 2020, in a speech at Dubai Watch Week, one of the world's biggest events for luxury watches, Dufour spoke clearly about how Rolex views the role of its authorized dealers. He explained that even after major deals and changes in recent years, like the acquisition of the Swiss retailer Bucherer, Rolex has no intention of replacing the independent dealers that have sold its watches for decades. Those shops are not afterthoughts. They are a central part of how the brand operates around the world. When asked if Rolex might use the stores it now owns, such as Bucherer shops, to replace dealer partners, Dufour was direct. He said the Bucherer deal was a unique opportunity and would remain a very small part of Rolex's overall retail presence. He made it clear that Rolex will continue to rely heavily on its traditional network of authorized dealers, which includes major partners like Siddiqui Holding in the Middle East and other respected retailers globally. Dufour explained that this strategy is not just about tradition, but about trust and collaboration. According to him, Rolex has always succeeded by choosing strong local partners who understand the market and can represent the brand in a way that matches Rolex's values. He said that the company looks for dealers who can speak to customers not just about sales, but about the craft and heritage behind every watch. This personal connection between dealer and customer is something Rolex does not want to lose. The CEO also warned about what can happen when brands try to sell watches purely through digital channels or cut out local relationships. He mentioned the automotive industry as an example of what can go wrong when companies focus too much on automated or impersonal sales models and lose touch with customer loyalty. For Rolex, building long-lasting relationships with clients, not simply making quick sales, is a core part of its retail philosophy. Rolex's commitment to dealer relationships comes at a time when many other parts of the luxury world are changing rapidly. Some brands are pushing their own directly owned stores much more aggressively than in the past, and many are experimenting with online sales channels. Rolex's stance, however, remains that authorized dealers are essential to the brand's identity and success. Dufour stressed that the company will continue to work with these dealers first, even though it now owns some retail spaces through acquisitions. Part of this strategy includes supporting the dealers in ways beyond just selling new watches. Dufour also spoke about Rolex's Certified Pre-Owned (CPO) program, which allows dealers to sell authenticated, used Rolex watches with a factory-backed warranty. According to him, this is a way for dealers to deepen their relationship with customers by offering more trusted options in a market where buyers are increasingly interested in pre-owned luxury items. He said this program helps dealers build long-term trust, rather than focusing only on first-time sales. The relationship between Rolex and its dealers is also shaped by Rolex's global distribution strategy. Instead of flooding the market with watches, Rolex manages supply carefully through its authorized network. Dealers receive allocations of certain models based on criteria like sales history, customer service quality, and the ability to represent the brand. While many customers may feel the process is slow or frustrating, especially for highly sought-after models, Rolex sees this careful allocation as part of maintaining brand prestige and ensuring. Thirdly, every micro-brand on Earth released a turquoise dial watch. The color saturated the market. What felt unique in 2020 became generic by 2024. Seiko made turquoise. Oris made turquoise. Baltic made turquoise. The uniqueness that drove the price vanished. The Tiffany Blue OP41 is the clearest example of hype-driven stupidity in modern watch collecting. People paid 5 times retail for a color. Just a color, not a complication, not better movement, not special finishing. A color. By 2026, those people are sitting on 5-figure losses, wondering how they fell for it. The answer? FOMO combined with artificial scarcity messaging from dealers who knew exactly what they were doing. Now, we are the top 2. Number 2. Audemars Piguet Royal Oka, reference 15500 ST Blue Dial. The Royal Oak 15500 ST is an icon. 41mm steel case, integrated bracelet, blue, Grande Tapisserie dial, in-house AP caliber 4000, 302 movement. This is serious horology from one of the Holy Trinity brands, so why is it on this list? Because AP got greedy. They raised retail prices aggressively. The 15500 ST went from around $24,000 in 2020 to over $30,000 by 2025. This year, 2026, they raised prices another 7.5%. The retail price is now approaching $32,500. Meanwhile, secondary market prices dropped 8.2% and cost around $28,000 to $30,000 depending on condition. You can buy a lightly used 15500 ST for less than new retail. Why would anyone pay full price when the used market is cheaper? This is total stagnation. Dealers are stuck holding inventory nobody wants at current prices. Private sellers are competing with a mountain of gray market listings. Everyone's trying to sell. Nobody's buying. Now, let's talk about the king that has been dethroned. Number 1. Patek Philippe Nautilus. The Patek Philippe Nautilus 5711/1A in steel was the ultimate sports watch from the ultimate prestige brand. Genta design, integrated bracelet, blue dial, 40mm perfection. At the peak, in 2021-2022, the 5711/1A traded for $150,000 to $180,000 on the secondary market, more than 10 times its retail price of around $34,000. People convinced themselves these would only go up forever. They didn't. Patek discontinued the 5711 inches 2021. But they immediately replaced it with variations. The 5811 with a new case. The 5712 with complications. New Nautilus models kept flowing. The discontinuation didn't create scarcity, it created confusion. By 2026, the 5711/1 trades around $90,000 to $110,000 depending on condition. That's down over 40% from peak. Still triple retail, yes, but anyone who bought at over $150,000 lost $40,000 to $60,000. More importantly, Patek's secondary market performance is the weakest in the Holy Trinity. Down 6% in the last 12 months according to market data. The brand that was supposed to be the safest investment is bleeding value. What happened? Multiple factors. First, the launch of the Cubitus collection confused the market. Is Patek moving away from the Nautilus? Are they creating a new flagship? The messaging wasn't clear. Collectors got uncertain. Uncertainty kills premiums. Second, the integrated bracelet sports watch trend saturated. Every brand made one. The look became generic. What felt exclusive in 2015 felt common by 2025. Third, interest rates rose. Wealthy buyers who used cheap debt to buy multiple Nautiluses at peak prices suddenly faced carrying costs. They started selling. Supply increased. Demand didn't keep pace. Prices dropped. The Nautilus isn't worthless. It's still a Patek Philippe. It's still desirable, but it's not the bulletproof investment dealers told you it was. It's a luxury watch subject to market forces like everything else. And those forces just proved that even Patek Philippe isn't immune to downturns. The king bled. Badly. Anyone who bought at peak lost tens of thousands of dollars betting on a myth that turned out to be marketing. All 15 watches down. From Omega to Patek Philippe. From entry-level sports watches to Holy Trinity grails. The pattern is clear. Depreciation is real, widespread, and devastating. The watches as investments narrative collapsed. These watches aren't stores of value. They're luxury goods that lose money like every other luxury good. The market just figured it out 3 years too late. We were lied to. For years, the watch industry told us that luxury watches were investments, that they only went up, that buying Rolex, Patek, Omega was like buying gold. It wasn't true. It was never true. Luxury watches are consumer goods. They depreciate. Some depreciate slower than others. A few outliers appreciate. But the vast majority lose value the moment you buy them. The pandemic bubble made everyone forget this. When everything was going up, we convinced ourselves the rules had changed. They hadn't. The fundamentals never changed. We just ignored them because prices kept rising. Now the music stopped. Interest rates rose, speculation dried up, flippers got stuck holding inventory. And everyone who bought watches as investments discovered they were actually just buying expensive jewelry that nobody wants to pay full price for. If you bought any of these 15 watches and you're underwater, I'm sorry. But learn the lesson. Stop treating watches as investments. They're not. They're luxury goods. And luxury goods lose value. The only question is whether you're okay losing that value in exchange for the experience of wearing something you genuinely love. If the answer is yes, great. If the answer is no, you're in the wrong hobby. The watch market isn't coming back to 2021 levels. Those days are gone. Welcome to reality. It's expensive here.